Hello and welcome to the Crypto Beat. My name is Kelvin Sparks. This is my co-host, Tim Copeland, head of growth at the block. Joining us today, we have Casey Craig, co-founder of Euphoria and Bread, goated name, CT name, by the way, head of ecosystem at MegaETH. Welcome to the show. How are we all doing?
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Doing good.
Yeah, man. Excited.
Yeah. So before we get into today's episode, we have a quick word for us from our sponsors.
It's a new chapter for crypto and digital assets. Institutions are flooding in, regulators are defining clear pathways, and capital is moving at warp speed. Are you ready to level up? Campus is the digital gold standard in crypto education presented by LMAX Digital. Master the skills you need to thrive in this new crypto era. Head to theblock.co/campus to get started.
Now, on to today's episode, viral tap trading money games on MegaETH with Euphoria and Bread. So, Tim, this is the first time I've seen you get excited about on-chain stuff in a while when talking about the MegaETH ecosystem. So, definitely don't want to steal your thunder. I'll pass it to you to kick this episode off.
Sure thing. So yeah, I've always been a big fan of just sort of good UX in crypto. We've seen a million projects where it's just awful UX. It's just super confusing, and let alone when you've got to swap chains and get the right token and the gas fees and everything. So like what really drew me to Euphoria and why I sort of gone a bit viral on Twitter is just there's just seamless UX of it and the sort of the fun element to it, even though it is ultimately, I assume, just sort of kind of the same as trading, just with a glorified front end almost. But I'm just kind of curious, I guess, how games like this might work with a broader audience. And I think the crypto projects have kind of been able to crack into until now. So I guess first question was sort of what was the inspiration for Euphoria?
Yeah, it was really like when you like you said, it's trading under the hood. So there's a very complex exchange under the hood, and we wanted to abstract that away as far as possible. And so Euphoria actually started from a UX first design. It was like we didn't know what the derivative was going to be to support it on the back end. It was like let's make a fun trading experience and then figure out how to work out the protocol afterwards. And so it didn't start out with like we want to build an options exchange. It started out with let's build a fun trading experience. And so I think that, it was like you see Robinhood, for example, you simplify derivatives, you make them accessible, you make them intuitive, and you open up an entirely new market segment. And so that was a lot of the inspiration here was like, how do we actually make an app that can break outside of crypto Twitter and that a normal person can just understand it intuitively?
You mentioned Robinhood. I feel like that's almost the company that I could see doing this sort of thing at one point, or like acquiring or whatever, like sort of because they understand that audience really well. And so you mentioned options. Like, how does it work? Like when I press a button, what's actually happening under the hood?
Yeah, so the position is effectively an options like payoff, right? So the further out of the money you tap, the higher the multiplier is. The risk is confined to whatever, say, the $1 is that you tap. So the leverage is, there's no leverage in the concept of, there's margin on the position, like you'd think of a perpetual position. But yeah, you can think of it as like it's an option in the sense of it's an options like payoff. The further out of the money the position is, it's like a one tap option, effectively, is what you're looking at there.
You guys are starting to describe it a little bit. I would say, like, for people who are listening who don't even know what the hell Euphoria is, like what they're describing is you watch a chart, right? And you see the numbers going up and down. Euphoria specifically is an experience curated around watching this price chart go up and down. And what's the current interval? Like couple seconds?
Yeah, so each square represents 5 seconds.
Okay, so in seconds intervals, 5-second intervals, and the users are expected to try to predict where the line is actually going to go. And you tap a chart, and the further away you are from the actual current position increases your effectively leverage or like the payout. But obviously your odds go down of it actually hitting that spot. So it's that wrapped in a very thoughtful experience, we'll call it. I know you've had several instances where it's gone viral on X just from people screen capping it, right? The music is kind of, well, frankly, euphoric. Like it's nice, relaxed. It's got a good vibe to it. It's got good little pops that come up. But yeah.
Oh, it's very, very elegant. I definitely add also like the colors behind it. Just overall, very, very well done. So one of the things I was curious about, Casey, was under the hood, you say it's a very, very complex like trading system. So when you think about maybe the top 5 things you want a user to understand when they open up Euphoria, what are they?
I would say top 5 things would be, yeah, I mean, so like we don't do the whole just like shilling like the tech of the product. And, I think that's like a big problem with crypto is when you're trying to reach retail users, it's like you're talking about, like, hey, let us explain to you how we think it's cool that every single one of these thousands of squares is its own individualized order book. Like they don't really care. It's like a novel derivative that nobody's done in crypto. Like, the closest we've gotten to anything like this is almost like a 0-day option in TradFi, which dominates the retail market in TradFi. And so I think for us, that stuff is cool for the more technically savvy audience. And then I think what's cool for kind of the average participant is we have some great UX in crypto where like me as a trader, I love say like Hyperliquid, for example. But if I walked out onto the street and tried to put it into the hands of like random people, they're not going to get it. So like our products, certain products that have PMF are just not reaching everybody. And so we wanted something that could actually reach everybody and that it's something where it's like, again, you're normal person. Like if you feel like I'm not a trader, well, then you can try this. Like, this is something that you can try. Like, you immediately become a trader. You pick it up, you can Apple Pay into it with double click. You never have to understand that there's a chain under the hood, and then you're tapping away. Everything's denominated in US dollars to make it simple for you. Like, you really don't have to understand that there's crypto under the hood. It's great rails for us to run on, but I think those are kind of I guess I don't have 5, but like the 2 biggest things that I would want people to know is if you're more technically savvy, I mean, it's a novel expression of a derivative. And then if you're more, like a retail leaning listener, then yeah, it's like, this is something that, you want crypto apps that you can show people outside of crypto to get them excited and to get them interested. Like, this is the one.
Maybe calling back to what was probably eons ago with respect to crypto, it was like these Telegram, these tap to earn kind of games. Was that an influence at all in the design for the product itself?
A little bit, yeah. So, actually the UX design comes from what we call intuitive finger gestures. So when you look at, all of the most popular mobile applications, whether it be the way that you refresh your Gmail or whether it be the way that you swipe on like your dating apps or whatever it might be that people are doing out there, they all boil down to there's been billions of dollars and millions of hours put into the R&D into these things about these intuitive finger gestures. So all of our experiences on the app are actually designed around like the idea of, a familiar finger gesture to do the things that you want to do. And so for trading, we were like, how can we turn an intuitive finger gesture into a way that you can interact with the market? And it was like, yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to be able to visualize the payoff and just tap where you think that the price is going to go. Like, you're already doing that. You're already thinking, I think the price is going to go here. Okay, take it a step further and just tap it and make something happen,
Okay, and then you're currently doing a tapathon. So what's that?
We are. So this is our 2-week trading competition that we're running. It's our testnet trading competition in an effort to stress test our systems. And, it's our first public debut. So we've got 5,000 traders competing head to head in this tapathon, which will then, lead us to rolling over into mainnet. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun to watch the leaderboard. It's been fun to watch people develop their strategies. And it's been super competitive. I mean, people are like, I saw a tweet yesterday that somebody was like, I almost zeroed out my initial starting balance. Everybody starts with $1,000. And so somebody said, I almost zeroed out my balance and now I'm at number 1 on the leaderboard. And so in one day, he climbed from like zeroing out to he was plus 40 some $1,000s in profit. And so it's just been fun to watch those behaviors. But yeah, it's our testnet trading competition to kick things off over here and give people the first experience of Euphoria.
Yeah, they must have played it for quite a lot. To get to that much on that day, because it's only what is it like $50, $100 like a tap?
Yeah, so I was looking at the metrics. I was looking at the database on the back end, and he hit a couple of like really strong multipliers. So he hit a $50 for 100x, and he strung together a few pretty solid wins there. So he went on a bit of a heater, and that took him up to the top of the leaderboard.
Are you seeing any user behaviors with this? Like, because I'm sure you guys can overlay all the different like actions of these users. You're calling out this one specifically, but could you have like a heat map of like, this is traditionally where people are tapping for everyone across your competition?
Yeah, so we can see what people are doing and people are starting to develop strategies a little bit more. You have this period of time where they come on and they're tapping around to figure it out. And then you can kind of see the moment whenever they start to figure it out, like whenever they actually develop some kind of strategy. And so, yeah, like I I don't want to give away all the strategies that people are using, but there's some strategies that people are using that are pretty consistent. And so that's been cool to see. But we can, and we'll have like, you'll be able to see on Euphoria like a global board that you'll see PFPs of where everybody else is tapping on the screen. And so you'll be able to see that yourself. It'll be a heat map in the form of like little tiny PFP circles. Yeah.
I was curious. One of the things that I think about over like these short time frames is almost like the random walk that people have ascribed to, like these theories related to finance and whatnot. So, from your perspective, do you look at this as trading or gambling, or are we just moving towards a degen economy, generally speaking? I know the CEO of Stockwits had some really strong thoughts in that regard. So, definitely curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as trading, right? It's not luck, because it's not fully luck, because of course the market's going to move how the market's going to move, but it's not fully luck because, you know, if the price is right here and you're tapping like here, then it's not super likely that it's going to hit there, right? So there is an element of skill involved. So yeah, I mean, we definitely look at this as trading. It's not just like straight up gambling, because there's certainly an element of skill involved that goes into it. And you can see that from the strategies that people are developing too. Like there's a reason why some people are more profitable than others.
There's certainly no skill going in there when I'm playing it, I have to say. Yeah, so, and then I had a question about this. Is it possible for people to game the system? Because obviously, you know, people are betting based on the moving price of a few different tokens. Let's say if I'm a whale and I really wanted to be on the top of the leaderboard, and I just start like buying ETH super aggressively, you know, and moving the market in order to win Euphoria. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, and it's probably a bit, you know, the sort of volumes are a bit different. But is that something that you worry about at all, or is just you just think it's just too unlikely because the underlying currency is so you know, it got so much volume?
That's what, so I have two answers to this. Is one, like, I invite people to try and game this. Like, please go at it. Like, give us your best, you know, like that's what a lot of this is for right now, especially like this testnet trading competition. But no, it's not economically feasible for you to go move the ETH price for 1 second to tap your box. That's a question that we get a lot, but there are open interest caps that make it not economically feasible to do such a thing, where it's, you know, like you're taking a big gamble if you're doing something like that. So yeah, it's not possible in that sense.
How bullish would it be to be moving a $200 billion asset for a Rolex on testnet? Please, how amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
just to
problem
win
to
on
have.
testnet is just throwing away money.
Well, there's a Rolex on the line. There's something.
Oh, really? What's this? I'm unfamiliar. What's going on?
Yeah, so in the tapathon competition, there are prizes for the winners. So there's a Rolex, and we'll actually fly you out to London to hang out with the team in person and hand present you this Rolex and, you know, give you a nice little trip. And then we have cash prizes that are coming out to the second and third place. And then there's also like various random prizes that come out throughout the competition as well for just various things, like whoever had the most taps on the day, whoever had the highest hit rate on the day. You know, like we gave out one to the first person to hit a 100x in the competition and things like that. So yeah, lots of fun prizes throughout the competition. But the grand prize is a Rolex and a trip to London.
That's quite fun.
Yes.
Most
Your
taps
marketing
in a
department's
day.
cooking.
That's just getting someone just to sit there and just all day long. Can people like use bots to like connect up and sort of tap on their behalf, or?
So I'll answer that kind of the same way as the last question. Like they can, if they want to try, they're welcome to, but there's not like a public API access or anything like that. Right now it is built for human interaction, but down the line in the future, maybe we will, but right now it's designed for humans. So if you figure it out, we can't stop you. You know, if you figure out how to get your Claude bot tapping for you, then go right ahead. But it's not super simple. Like there's not just an API quite yet.
Okay. And then I'm assuming every like button click is an on-chain transaction. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this really depends on MegaETH being able to handle a pretty high number of transactions. Would Euphoria have been possible on other chains?
So a couple things, like if we were to build on another chain that has slower block times, like there's a couple of problems that would create for us. Is one being, yeah, like you said, every click is a transaction that you're making, every tap. So two things. One, it's not a very fun experience if you have to tap, wait, tap, wait, tap, wait. Like that kind of kills the entire experience, right? You know, we want to be able to like spam blocks and do all of this. The other part of it is on the back end, like the order book updates have to come so fast because those prices are constantly changing, like the multipliers. And as I had mentioned before, each one of those squares is its own individualized order book. So for the makers to be quoting orders in and out of those books consistently, you need the throughput of MegaETH. So could you build a Euphoria experience somewhere? Like, kind of is my answer. I mean, kind of.
I'm learning some deeper stuff here. So does that mean if it's a single order book for a single square, two people are playing simultaneously, does that mean one person's tap impacts another person's tap on that order book? Because now that order book has a different order in it, right?
That's correct. So if Kelvin gets in before you, he's going to have a higher multiplier on that square than you will.
Interesting.
Before bread guy, I like that tagline. I need to run
And
that.
before bread, yeah.
So that's why when you see the price changing, the multiplier changes. That's not directly linked to the price. That's because other people are suddenly spamming higher.
That's correct. So it's dynamic. It's based on price, volatility, and then open interest. Yeah.
So as this thing scales, I'm kind of curious from your perspective, maybe Brett, actually, is a question for you. As more users come on to MegaETH, have you guys thought about improving latency at all and using solutions like 00, things of that nature?
We actually have. We're in contact with Austin for 00. I mean, that's just like a block propagation thing. For us, honestly, it won't mean a lot for the immediate solve, which is the user interaction to the actual sequencer. Like, that's mostly dictated by user location. And we're already down to, as Casey said, we're down to 10 millisecond, or she didn't say it, but we're down to 10 millisecond block times right now. And we're aiming for even lower, and we're trying to make sure our RPC endpoints are super robust and geo-distributed so that the experience is pretty consistent across the board. But yeah, we're basically, like, this is the opinion of our chain. It's like, we see the end state, which is effectively what Casey and Nathan are building towards. Like, everything that they have built into their thesis here, which is abstracting the chain, abstracting the dollars, like everything is consumer forward. All of it requires just super low latency interactions with something that frankly just exists and doesn't, come up because 10 other people are minting an NFT and all of a sudden your prices are tripled and not feasible for your specific application. So we're building for this end state today, and we're just going to drive it even further over the next years.
I'm not super familiar with how MegaETH works, but I'm guessing it's some sort of like sequencer model. And my kind of question is, like, what's the cost of running, whether it's a sequencer or something else that processes like all of this?
Yeah, I mean, the actual hardware costs for just the sequencer is about $10 an hour, and that's just for one instance of it. And we actually run several backups to make sure that we have persistence and liveness. So if one, so we have the main sequencer, that's what everyone interacts with, and then if that were to go down, I think we have 3 total in backup that are instantly available to hot swap in without any data loss. So it can get quite expensive. Yeah. And that's like our entire thesis was, we think that a lot of these chains that we're building for, the roll-up-centric roadmap, were not fully leaning into the architecture that was available to them. So Yilong and Lei identified years ago that, if we're going to do this, you really do this, you really lean into it. Now, it's not purely just like get a bigger box. We have some technical innovations that we did to enable what we're doing. We literally just reinvented the entire database structure. But that's one of the key components, is we really leaned into having very big machines because that's what's made available to us with the roll-up-centric roadmap.
Yeah. So something like 100K per year sort of vibes. Like, that's actually maybe less than I thought.
Well, for one, we have the backups, right? So you're spread that across 3.
Yeah. So will there be other people running sequences too?
That's the plan. So, right now, we have 2 key technical implementations that we have coming up that we've already announced. One is we're going to actually have people pay to be close to the sequencer, because latency is obviously a big thing for the larger players, right? It's basically, we enshrined what a Jito is in a Solana, if you're familiar, just like letting people get closer to the sequencer. And then 2 is we're going to introduce sequencer rotation. So a lot of these chains are trying to reinvent the L1 model, like a distributed block building pipeline, for their roadmap. And we said, no, doing that introduces consensus, and it actually meaningfully hinders what you can actually achieve performance-wise. And that's our North Star, is always going to be performance. So instead of having a bunch of nodes constantly talking to each other to build a block, we will just have one building the block at any given time. It's just, we will have several of them going simultaneously, and you rotate from one, this guy's building it, then this guy's building it, then this guy's building it, then this guy's building it, and they can be geo-distributed. So it'll be a rotation instead of a council, we'll say, which is actually basically Solana's model. Solana has a leader-based model, and it's that just with bigger machines.
So I'm curious from your perspective, how do you think about actually like pushing the fundamental like the fundamentals of physics on the latency side of things with paying down technical debt while also growing the ecosystem?
Ooh, there's a lot going on there. Yeah, I mean, so the well, like, yeah, I'll touch on like the fundamental physics stuff. Like that's actually our like one of our it's our thesis that we can operate in an area that no other chain, no other consensus bound chain, which is all these L1s can, because they're fundamentally constrained by physics to be slower than us, right? They're always going to have to deal with sending messages to each other across the world, which has, you know, inherent latency in it. Just like the propagation time of your actual message to just say, hey, I got this thing. So one, we're because we have this model, we're always going to operate in a field that creates a net new surface area for applications like a Euphoria to create this experience that frankly could be replicated elsewhere, but it meaningfully degrades the experience to a point where it's probably no longer viable to the everyday consumer. So there's that. And then for the ecosystem, I mean, I guess that kind of leans into that. It's like, you know, Casey and co came in because of our accelerator where we're going out and trying to identify ambitious founders who see what the tech potentially unlocks and no longer wish to be constrained by the underlying. Like they just like treat us like your AWS, come in, you know, build your app, build it the way that you envision it, build it the way that you think the everyday user can consume something. And we're very excited about like we have Euphoria lovingly labeled as like consumer DeFi, which is just this sector of apps that are abstracting DeFi primitives in a way that is consumable for the everyday person. And we think it's just a sector that's going to continue to grow. So we've incubated other teams that are very similar, building with the same mindset as the Euphoria team. And we'll continue to do that. Like we just think it's where this industry is going.
I gotta give a shout out to Kevin from WCM. I haven't had a chance to play around with the app or see a lot of what he's doing, but I know he was pretty early in the MegaETH ecosystem. So
Yeah, he's a homie.
nice. Oh, cool. Look, it's confirmed. Good stuff. But before we move on, I did want to talk about one thing that we are working on this year. So we're excited to be media partners with ETHCC, taking place March 30th through April 2nd in Cannes. New for 2026 is the Agora, ETHCC's official institutional forum. It brings together some of the most influential voices in digital assets and traditional finance for open, rigorous debates on the future of financial markets. So the Agora is unsponsored by design, creating space for honest and bias-free conversations you usually don't grab on the main stage. So, or you usually don't hear on the main stage, excuse me. So please grab a ticket and we'll see you on the ground soon. That being said, this episode, we are giving away one ticket. So all capital letters, use code the block free 100AX41. That's the block free 100AX41. And best of luck. Hopefully you snipe that ticket. Tim, I want to pass it back to you, man. I know you had some questions on the MegaETH ecosystem and chain at large, so please.
Yeah, so Brett, I was curious, like what other apps are worth checking out on MegaETH?
Live today, it's actually like we're kind of just building up the ecosystem, waiting for some of these consumer DeFi stuff. But live today, I would say, you know, we have like Avon's of the world, which is a lending club. It's also a similar take on DeFi primitives, but in a new structure. They use again lending club to try to have rate discovery. What else is everyone else playing? WCM actually, just Kelvin mentioned Kevin, who's the creator of WCM. They have a unified order book. Or no, not unified order book, a unified margin account, which is across 3 separate clubs, with perps, spot, and lending, that allows for you to put on the basis trade, just like a leverage basis trade, which honestly has not been accessible to the majority of the market. It's a very sophisticated trade, and they just make it a one-click experience here. They just went into a beta yesterday, so you guys can go get some codes for that. So I would say do a little bit of that. And we actually, the gaming sector is doing decent early on. We have Hunter Tales that just raised like $800,000, which they were aiming for like 200K, but a lot of people are excited. It's like a DeFi Kingdom style gaming experience. And then we have AvaForge and TopStrike. So like if you're a DeFi person, you have those first 2, WCM, Avon. If you're a gaming centric person, we have those other 3 that are starting to pick up steam.
Okay, cool. What's the Cube thing? I saw it pop up on my timeline yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what that's about?
Yeah, like so it's that is an ARG type experience. So it's a team that we met that is trying to have fun with what you can do on MegaETH, right? So like the general concept is that there's this giant cube, right? So like they're kind of playing into the lore of like, okay, big cube's coming from outer space. What is it? We got to stop it. They have this corpo angle of, you know, be good, uh, save the planet. And what's ultimately going to happen is everyone can communally, it's actually not too dissimilar from a Euphoria. Everyone can go and tap on the cube and break it away, right? Like break it down to a center, and there is a singular thing inside of there that is worth $1 million. And once you obtain this thing, the team will buy it back from you for $1 million. So it's basically just going to be a communal race to chip away at this cube, which is this ever imposing galactic figure, and try to find this one prize. And there's gonna be like things that are in there that mix things up, but it's a it's a lore experience.
Sounds kind of interesting. It reminds me a little bit of FOMO 3D, except like, you know, that someone actually wins rather than it just getting like a bigger pool of money every time.
It feels very Mr. Beast.
Yeah. We trapped 1,000 people on their laptops to tap away. They weren't allowed to eat until one person finds the
shackles their computer. Yeah. And the team's having a lot of, like, they're actually like super into the lore aspect of it. So they're writing entire manifestos, and they've been, making these videos and stuff. It's pretty cool. We have if you go to our website at the bottom, you'll see a Megacorp job listing, which is like recruiting the miners. So like, we're playing into it pretty hard. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. I do think, like you mentioned gaming, I feel like I kind of mentioned this in a previous episode or so, but I do wonder if crypto has a bit of a boring year this year, if it's a quiet year, markets are down. I do wonder if it's the perfect time for sort of crypto gaming to finally sort of come out a little bit. You finally got chains that can actually handle it. You've got people that are bored, actually like addictive good games. I know Euphoria is not a game, but it kind of feels like that a bit. And it's kind of like, when I'm like bored, I'm like, oh, why don't I just play that for a little bit? Like do you think that we might see some really big contenders coming out this year?
Casey, do you think Euphoria is a good toilet experience? Like, did you build it for the, like, I had to go to the bathroom real quick, sit down, get on my phone. I'll tap some shit. Like, did you guys build it with that in mind?
I think I'll give it to Ultra for being the first one to say that on Twitter. And then it kind of became a running joke of like, this is the game I'm going to play on the toilet. But yeah, I mean, honestly, yes. It's like one of those things where, my perspective on this is it's like okay, I'm in the back of an Uber and I have a few minutes to kill, or I'm like waiting for a train or something. And I don't want to like get caught off sides in a perp, or I don't want to like open up, there's other things I don't want to do like while I just have a few minutes. And so it's a perfect, like, there's a duration based experience that you can have. But yeah, I mean, yes, it was built with, maybe not necessarily with the throne in mind, but it is a perfect toilet experience.
I have a meme that I'm going to make after this show, now that you've mentioned that. Yeah.
But to your point too, Tim, like, sorry, Brad, but to your point, like, people have asked us, oh, are you guys worried about the current market conditions? Are you worried about like launching right now? And my answer is like, absolutely not. I mean, like, what better time to give people something fun to do than when the market's down and when everybody's like, has nothing to do and they're bored and they're down, and like, okay, like, launch something fun. I think this is a perfect time for us to launch.
I was actually, so Tim was alluding to like some of the capacity needs of some of these experiences. And I saw that you guys posted the amount of transactions that were generated by the 5,000-ish people. Do you recall that number? How many taps have you guys had to process on Megatestnet?
Yeah, so I figured you were going to ask. So I just refreshed our dashboard, and there's been 1.6 million taps. So yeah, there's 2 transactions that come out of that. So yeah, there's a lot of transactions that are coming on Mega.
Each one of those. Oh yeah, because the order book and then the actual tap itself. So maker taker, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was gonna do the math on it and see what that is TPS wise, because like that's the other consideration here is like the sheer scale capacity needs you need for something like this. So there's the low latency component. That's the field that we can uniquely provide for everyone. Like that's something no other chain can contest us with, which is cool. The other thing which other chains are having success with, but is still a very high demand, is just the raw capacity. So if you have 100 transactions fast, like per second, that's cool, but you have to have that like instant response. That's the latency. The other is just like, can you scale that 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to 50,000? And that's what we try to demonstrate with our stress test. Actually, I'm getting flooded on the timeline a little bit because I pulled it forward and I realized people did not realize we actually did that on mainnet. So like we did a demonstration where we pushed the chain with, I don't know, like 70 times the overall capacity of a base on mainnet, and let people come in and still play games over the top of it, to showcase to teams like a Casey, Euphoria, that like, if you guys come here and you're trying to build, right, like the capacity needs of the chain is never going to be a concern for you, at least not in any immediate time frame. So you can do things like a Euphoria, which is incredibly ambitious, and you have runways of years that we're going to be consistently trying to scale on our side to make sure that it can handle it. And the cost price is dead static, which is, that's what you want. You want predictability as a builder.
Yeah, the cost is super important to us as well, where like, we want to get down to people being able to have very, very small taps, because it's really fun when you can come and make a lot of taps. And so, if we have a 10-cent gas charge for a $1 transaction, that's not super fun.
Yeah,
Casey, I'm
about
kind of curious.
the testnet, like I did find it lag a little bit. I was playing the sort of crossing the road game, and I'd be halfway across the road, then it would just be like transaction failed, and I get hit by a van. So like, yeah, some things to iron out. Sorry, Kevin, what were you saying?
Hopefully it's not. No worries. I was going to add on to that. Yeah, you're definitely carrying the IQ aspect of the podcast, so that would be horrible. But Casey, I was a bit curious from your perspective. How do you guys think about actually like stress testing the system, or these like edge cases when you're saying anybody's welcome to try like their strategy, given you're abstracting away so many complexities? Like, how do you keep this thing safe and fun?
I mean, there's a lot of quant work that goes into keeping it safe, both on like the user side and on the protocol side, right? So ultimately with Euphoria, the goal here is for people to be able to make money. Like, you come here and it isn't an experience where you should come and just lose all of your money immediately. Like that's a really, really bad business model. So we want you to come and actually have fun and make it enjoyable. And so for us, there comes a balance with, the market makers that we're working with to offer as competitive as like perfectly priced markets as they possibly can, so that they're not getting smoked by users, and so that users are not getting smoked by them. Because if that's the case, again, they're not going to come back. And if the users are taking all their money, there's no longevity in that either. So I would say that the biggest like fix to all of that is that's what we've spent the past year and a half working on. It's not necessarily just the front end. Like the front end that's kind of a quick thing to spin up. It's the back end side of things to make it an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my gripes with Pump Fun. As addictive and fun as it is per se, the win rates for the house are just like terrible. They're significantly worse than even playing the lottery at that. And I think that's kind of seems like a chasm that Pump Fun is trying to cross and fix for it in real time right now. So thank you for illuminating there. Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, totally.
And Brad, from your perspective, like how are you thinking about cultivating an ecosystem? You showcase these things. Okay, we can show that we can handle this on top of the stress testing we're already doing, but what kind of apps are you personally interested in talking to?
I'm just going to continue to push. So there's actually two verticals that we think we as a team are broadly interested in, because like one is we want the ecosystem to be like full, and although these consumer experiences are good, you need another, I would say, professional side of things, and we just need people to be able to have slow capital and fast high velocity capital. And the slow capital for me is the robust DeFi. It's the net new assets, I think, is something that we're particularly interested in. So not necessarily having, we'll say, the nth iteration of tokenized Tesla stock, but making sure that that company to IPO does it on MegaETH. So, it doesn't have to be confined to like traditional securities, right? You could do, tokenized assets. Cards are popping off these days. I think the scope that people are viewing for that is actually pretty narrow, and I think that could be expanded. So we're really thinking deeply on trying to get some of these net new assets for people to come to the chain and get exposure and use slower capital for. But then the other side of that is the consumer DeFi category that Casey is building into pretty deeply. And some of the apps that we're currently excited about beyond even them is like we have Hit One. Hit One's a very similar experience that does it with a perps lean. So instead of doing this stuff and it's 0-day options, you're doing it with perps options or perps on the back end. And the front end is an app. It's very consumer forward. Another one is Blitzo, which does this another similar take, but does it tied into the payment flow for a lot of people. So you go through the market and supermarket. At the end, you tap with your Apple Pay, and at that point, in that moment, it injects a prompt to you and says, "Hey, you want to double or nothing? Hey, you want to flip a coin? You like whatever you want to do." And you have an option right there to hit a button, take a 500x long position on Bitcoin. Maybe it's random, maybe it's whatever. And if it hits in the next 3 seconds, then you double up your money, and therefore your groceries are free. Or you zero it out and you have to pay twice as much, right? So like we're trying to incubate teams that are thinking in this vertical of like trying to take these DeFi primitives and seeing what you can unlock in the consumer and user experience. And I think there's a lot of DeFi primitives, or DeFi itself is a lot of PMF in our industry. I think we've already shown that. So trying to make that more accessible to more people, I think, is something that's really important.
Yeah. Do you think there's any risk with sort of building hyper addictive forms of trading or gambling? It's sort of like even the double or nothing thing. You're going to bring gambling to everyday life, which I do think a lot of people in this industry, they love it. But, is there a risk that it could burn a lot of retail participants?
I think Casey's going to love this question. So like the moral hazard of building addictive and gamble forward, risk forward experiences. I'm a big believer in free markets and letting people make the decision for themselves. And I think it's objectively moving in this direction. And I'm not going to tell a builder that they can or cannot build what they think is right. So like we're just facilitating a infrastructure that can be useful for these scenarios, but it doesn't have to be that. So is there moral hazard? Probably to some degree, but I honestly don't think it's a major thing. And I know Casey has some deep thoughts on this, actually.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think a couple of things. I to Bread's point, like I believe in agency, right? Like if we can't set guardrails around every single thing that you do. Like you could go get in a wreck in your car, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't drive cars, right? But I think that there's value in entertainment as well. Like there's a reason why Vegas exists and why I have a good time when I go there and I lose my money. Like I'm paying for an experience. And so, I think that there's kind of two sides to it. There's that. And then I think that when you look at experiences like this, like there are ways that you can get them into the hands of more people. And again, like, hoping that people are going to use their agency to use them responsibly. But in their current form, like you're not going to get people to use certain things. And so I think that, widening the pie is not a crime. I think that people should have access to fun experiences. And I think that people should be able to spend their money how they want to spend it. And I think that, like I said, there's value in entertainment. Like they want to pay to have fun. Like when you go to the front end of Pump Fun, this is not to like knock these guys, but you don't expect to win when you go there, right? You expect to have a good time and you expect to like hopefully find a diamond in the rough and things like that. And there's a lot of PMF that's there. And so I think that for us, it's one of those things where, we want to make the experience more fair for people. So we want to give that trench feeling, but make it more fair. You're trading against, the price of Bitcoin and ETH. It's not like some bundled cabal supply that's going to dump on your head or something like that. So it is trying to bring like these feelings of the hyper gamification to in a more fair sense, really.
Yeah, do you guys consider like Candy Crush gambling app?
Have we seen it?
No, would you guys like? I'm thinking like because I'm thinking about the experience that you guys are drifting towards with Euphoria, and then I'm thinking like, oh well, there's a lot of money being exchanged on the back end. Whatever's going on, it's just an addictive game loop that's like pulling people in to spend more money to do the thing. And then you think about a Candy Crush, right? Like a game that has been around for the longest time, and people are spending oodles and oodles and oodles of money to entertain themselves. But it's in a different category because I guess there's a prompt to opt in to buy the super hammer or whatever it is versus like you deposit money into it to play it. So for me, it's just like I'm curious on where that line is for people of like, are both of those considered a gamble app, or would you say one is considered a gamble app? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Candy Crush is a good example, right? Like what has it been? 15 years that Candy Crush has been around and they're still making $100 million a month. So like people like to pay to be entertained and they have for a very, very long time. And so I just think that oftentimes there's like a fallacious argument that's made that, like, oh, nothing can be entertaining. Like, no, people want to have fun and they want to pay to have fun.
Well, these things have always existed on chain. You think about like a Satoshi Dice or Degen Coin Flip, all these other things. It's just the hurdles it took to understand crypto, then to understand how to do all this technical stuff to actually get your money there to play it. kind of prevented people from doing so, but not to say that there wasn't definitely a lot of latent demand for people who wanted to use these products. I mean, I would argue short form videos probably done more damage than some of these other tap to earn addictive games, just because there's a lot harder of a hurdle to get money into these systems versus you open up your phone and create a social media account. It's easy to scroll and see brain rot because it's almost served up and spoon fed to you. So just want to add that tidbit.
Yeah. So do you think, are you going to bring any more features to Euphoria, or do you think it sort of stays the same with what's been built?
Yeah, so there's a lot to come to Euphoria. Some of it I can speak to, some of it I cannot. But a few things that we've talked about publicly are expanding different asset classes, like equities, commodities, and other various things, as well as longer time frames. So we talk about, like, you look at Euphoria right now and you think like, oh, it is just like a super short duration trading experience, and you call it like the hyper gamification and all of that, but really what you're looking at is a visualized options trading experience. And so when you take that out to a longer time frame, what I think is really fascinating is, me as a trader, when I'm thinking through, say, like options math, I actually kind of like visualize my payoffs. Like I visualize the structure of that position. And so I think that when you can do that for people and like put it in front of their face, where they're like, yeah, I think the price is going to range here, which they're already doing when they're charting anyway. When you're doing your TA, you're already visualizing ranges on a chart. And now that you can tap that, I think that it'll open up Euphoria to a whole other segment of traders as well. So yeah, I mean, there's kind of a lot of different directions, right? There's like the different asset classes, there's longer time frames, there's other trading experiences that we'll bring on that we haven't really spoken about. And then additionally, with this one, there are social features that'll come. So like the four of us could join into a session-based tap trading competition, and we could put up a pot and we could say, like, over the next 5 minutes, whichever one of us has the most taps wins. And it's a really fun thing to do, like with your friends, like if you put it on a screen at someone's house and everybody's on their phone and you do it together. So it becomes a social experience. So yeah, I mean, a lot to come. Like this, what's on testnet right now is just like the very, very, the basic like MVP that everybody is seeing.
Separately. So those order books on chain, correct? Because you mentioned each one is a transaction.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, so sorry. Right now the order books are not on chain.
Okay, so the transaction, the settlement's on chain.
The settlement is on chain. The order book is not. Yeah, that's correct.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was like, one of my bull cases, I predicted in 2026 that I think options broadly is going to see a little bit of a revival because of like just the liquidation issues that people have been having. 1010 obviously being the most notable. There's like there's an appetite for people to do same leverage positions without the liquidation fears. Yeah, just ADLs are not awesome. And what Euphoria is doing, if you think about it, is they're using this, like historically one of the biggest problems with options on chain is that liquidity sucks. Like just no one's opting into it. So the liquidity book never gets deeps or never deepens, so that you can't really build up this like actual usage. And what Euphoria is doing, because they're abstracting it so much for the end users, like they're bringing in a lot of this liquidity for the shorter duration stuff. And you can actually potentially have an outcome where they build up this deep order book, options order book, because it's a gamified experience. It pulls in a lot of capital, and then you can start having the professional players layer in on top of it to actually build a fully fledged order, like options protocol on top of it. So like I don't know if that's in the plans for a Euphoria, but I feel like it can be a composable launch pad for like a full options experience.
Yeah. To be announced is what I'll say there.
Yeah. My friend who's building risk. My friend who's building risk
yeah.
finance is also trying to bring options back.
It's really good. Great UI.
Yeah, I think that, to Brett's point, like, yeah, with risk, I like the strategy that they're taking and the approach that they're doing to make it more accessible to people, like talking about the yield side of things and what options can offer, not trying to shove options down people's throat and like, hey, come try options the way that you've always known them and hated them. It's explaining the benefits of like, look, on a day like 1010 where you're wrong for 2 minutes, like you're directionally correct over a week, but you're wrong for 2 minutes, you don't lose your life savings, right? I mean, not that you should have your life savings in a perp anyway, but I think
maybe
that
not even wrong, but you were winning too hard and therefore you lost, right? Because if you were winning too hard, you were the first to get ADL'd out and then you lost on your other leg, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So where do you see the MegaETH ecosystem by the end of the year? Like what's going to happen during 2026?
That's a toughie. I'll just say that We're being very mindful about how we grow things, and I think we're actually seeing a little bit of a like we're viewing the current market conditions as a boon to us, right? Because I think had we launched in a raging bull, patience is basically not there for everyone, and like it or not, having people banging on your door for do this, do that, do whatever, maybe leads to making short-term decisions that are not necessarily the best long term. So the fact that people have a more patience right now, we'll say, is leading to us making sure we make really mindful discussions or decisions for our ecosystem. So right now we're focusing really hard on building up the DeFi ecosystem to make sure that side is actually robust enough to handle stuff like having capital access to a Euphoria, and then making sure that the teams like a Euphoria don't feel pressured to just come to market instantly and deliver a product that maybe is not ready for Showtime. We actually even we talked about Kevin and WCM, like we told them early on, like, guys, like now's not the time to rush out the door. We think you can do some things to refine the UX. Go back and do that. Like there's no pressure right now. Go do that. So for us, it's making sure the rest of our Mafia teams come to that's our accelerator, come to market with their best foot forward. I think we right now have 5 that are live, and we haven't brought it up, but our token specifically is locked behind KPIs that we've set for ourselves, and one of those KPIs is making sure that we have 10 Mafia apps that are live, have a fully functioning user experience loop, generating enough fees, all those things. So having all of those apps live, having our Mega TGE, that'll happen, and then just continuing to force MegaETH on people as a place for experimentation, because I feel like a lot of that has been lacking, especially in the EVM ecosystem. I feel like there hasn't been an outlet for that, and we see a lot of people with a lot of appetite for it that just haven't had an expressive ecosystem to push it. So that's what I'll say. Fully fledged ecosystem, TGE, all of our Mafia apps, at least 10 of them live. We have, I think, 15 to 20 in the hopper. And then, yeah, we're just, taking it on.
Nice. Do you have a rough timeline for TGE?
No, so it is locked. Like, so as an L2, we have the benefit of not requiring a token to launch, right? If you're an L1, you have to launch a token for paying off validators for your gas costs, whatever. So we have ETH as our gas asset. So we don't have a requirement for launching TGE at any given point. So for us, we said, in line with the market condition stuff and making sure we make the right decisions, because our token actually has a purpose in our side of our ecosystems. It's the beneficiary of our native stablecoins rewards. So as that grows, we have more cash on hand to purchase back Mega. And then on the other side, the proximity markets, which is what I was saying for the co-locating next to our sequencer, that'll be denominated in Mega. And same with sequencer rotation, that will also be denominated in Mega. So everyone that's bidding to get into the ecosystem will need Mega to do that, mostly professional entities. So for us, we said we need to make sure that we set KPIs for ourselves, that once these things are hit, then it means our token can come live, and it'll have a basal level of demand and or usage in our ecosystem, whether that's the USDM supply with buybacks or some of our other features are alive, or the ecosystem is healthy, which means the rotation and the proximity markets will be of higher demand. So like it just gives it a good starting point. So we have a public dashboard. Actually, people can go to it. It's on megaeth.com/token, I believe is the URL. If you just go to megaeth.com, you can see up top, it's a tab, and we're live tracking this information to show that like once one of these 3 things hit, which is the 3 KPIs that we set, then 7 days later, we will have a TGE. So, we set achievable goals for ourselves as a young ecosystem, but it's hard to say a specific time.
So was it much of a discussion? Because usually people just default to time-based unlocks for these things. So curious what the internal deliberation was like there.
Yeah, so we have KPIs on 2 fronts. One is like the actual release of the token. That's what I just discussed. And the other is, as you said, we have a KPI unlock initiative that we've also announced. So there's roughly 53% of our token supply that is going to go to people who hold Mega and stake their Mega, based on things that we achieve as an ecosystem across a few key verticals. One of them, and some of them are not even in our control. It's like most of it's like ecosystem health, app health, stuff like that. Some of it is raw raw performance of the chain. So like getting our median block times under 10 milliseconds, making sure that we've implemented proximity markets, like these initiatives that like show that we are as a foundational team continuing to progress the actual technology of the chain. And some of it is like ETH alignment stuff, where we say like based on Ethereum making progress in its decentralization roadmaps, whether that's client diversity or uptime or, you know, forced inclusion stuff, like as those are hit, it also allows for us to have token unlocks. And for us, it was trying to look at something that has traditionally been seen as a nightmare catalyst, right? Everyone looks at these token unlock schedules and says, oh shit, this is coming. Oh shit, token unlocks are coming. So we said, how can we turn a negative, a universal negative, into a positive? And we said, well, if those token unlocks are associated to actual meaningful progress, and the beneficiaries of that are the people that are inside of our ecosystem that are showing to be long-term like believers, like that's a good thing. So there was no pushback within the team. Like deciding on the actual KPIs was tough, because like there's just a lot of nuance there. We want to make sure it's not gamed and like it's actually like meaningfully implemented. But yeah, no, there was no real deliberation. I think we all universally said like this is something we want to do, and we as a team have continuously tried to inverse expectations of the market. You know, whether it was with our ICOs or our KPI stuff, or we always look for opportunities to think differently.
Cool. And then one thing I noticed, everything sort of across the MegaETH ecosystem seems to have this consistent brand, design, and feel. Like who sort of drives that?
So are you extending that to the apps or just like our team?
Well, I think it includes the apps for sure.
So, I mean, I think we've encouraged teams to like stand on their own. We like, you know, every ecosystem you see spin up, they go like, oh, it's a blue version of this, or it's a yellow version of this, and it's largely the same. It's usually monotonous or monotone into a singular color palette. So we, I think, have a pretty distinct brand, and we did that because our creative director is not from crypto whatsoever, and she's got a unique vision, and we've just like leaned into and handed this to her very heavily. And then we have teams like Euphoria that are also very opinionated, and we encourage them to just like go stand on your own, build your own stuff. Like we don't want MegaETH, right? We want Euphoria, right? We want a Blitzo. We want these teams to like really stand on their own and be stuff, and we'll help them come to market. But I think it's just like yeah, I don't know. It's like we're drawn to each other as like the type of personalities and mentalities of the type of builders that we are. And I don't know, maybe that emanates. And I don't know, Casey, maybe you can speak a little bit more to like, I don't know, what's your philosophy on bringing Euphoria to market?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely weren't any like brand guidelines or anything that came from Mega. So I think that what happens is when you spend enough time around these other builders and people like Mega that have such an incredible and unique brand design, it's like you're forced to level up your own brand design, right? So like, you know, whenever it's funny, the first iteration of Euphoria branding, it was like lime green and black, and it was like it had a little bit of chrome going on, and we ultimately decided to walk that back, and then now we have this like fun and euphoric color palette. It's pink, it's bright, it's like outlandish, it's really cool. And so yeah, I don't know, some of that though is I think it's just proximity. It's like you spend a lot of time around these. Like for me, I want to level up our videos. You were talking about Kevin before. Kevin's videos at WCM are so good, and I'm like, damn, like Kevin's videos are good. I've got to put out some good videos for Euphoria. So I think a lot of it's just proximity. It's like, you know, iron sharpens iron kind of thing, where, you know, when I see Rose making all of these cool announcement posts and all of these things at Mega, it's like, man, I want to hold myself to that standard for Euphoria as well. So it didn't really come from Mega, but I think it's just a byproduct, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, this has been a really, really lovely conversation as we kind of went a little bit over the top of the hour, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining, Casey, Bread. But that was all the time we have for today. As a reminder, our newsroom works tirelessly to get you accurate, informed crypto news. If you want to stay ahead, read the block. Thank you. See you next time.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Fun one. Yeah.